What's going on, everybody? Jared Sandler here. The betting booth divisional round episode coming your way. Zach Barron is going to be joining us shortly. I sent him the link late, and Zach is now here. So we're going to get going. And Zach, I can see you're wearing. Well, okay, it's a blue Mavs hoodie. Are you going to the Mavs game tonight?
I'm not going to the Mavs game tonight. I was going to wear all black for the funeral that was last week, but
That's what I was thinking. I came from my niece's show and tell. I did not wear all black, but I was thinking that's what you were doing. It was not a good week for us, and that's okay. That happens. It's our first uh offer that we've ever had in the history, the long, extensive history of the betting booth. But I do have some good news. We did direct people the right way because we talked about unders and there were some games that we picked. I picked the under in the Green Bay Chicago game. I thought that was a lock, and that did not hit. But there were largely unders and some big ones as well, especially as the weekend wore on. But yeah, for us, no bueno. I felt like we were on the right side of certain picks that just didn't
sure.
hit, but then there were some others where it did not go our way.
Yeah, we gave out the underdog trend. Underdogs went 4-2. We gave out taking all the unders, how well those have been done in the playoffs. Those went 4-2. Somehow we ended up on the wrong side of the two underdogs that didn't cover. We were on Pittsburgh and we were on the Chargers. They didn't cover. So the two that didn't, we were on those sides. But then I gave out the new QB, first time quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
They went 3-0 against the spread. I think we were right about Caleb Williams. He had a rough first half and then pulled the miracle out. And then Drake May, we thought he was going to struggle with that Chargers defense. He did struggle with the Chargers defense. It's just Herbert couldn't get it done with that offensive line. So, we gave out the trends. I did take a bunch of unders, so it wasn't as bloody as a week as it could have been. But, I was watching that Steelers game as they, gave up the two defensive TDs and, the week was just going awry in every which way. And I was upset watching that game. And then I woke up the next morning and I said, if we beat the line every week, like we did this past week, we're going to end up profitable. Like you got to keep it moving. This week didn't go well. And, there's, like we talked about, there's a randomness to this game. I think if you run those game out, 10 times, we're going to be on the right side more often than not in a lot of those games. This was just the simulation that happened this time around. And we took the Jags at a plus number. They ended up a favorite. We lost. We took the Packers. We got them at a plus number. They end up a favorite. We lose. We got the Steelers at 3.5. They ended up at 2.5 dog on some books. We lose. So we ended up on the right side of the number. So when I look at this week, I'm not all of a sudden like, okay, I need to go back to the drawing board and reinvent the wheel. I'm going to go back to the principles that have made us profit over the year and, bet these games exactly the same way I would looking at the slate last week. So if you bet sharp, eventually it's going to work out in the long run. The public had a worst year ever in the NFL this year against the spread. Like in history of betting, the public did the worst it's ever done. And this week they went 5-1. I think the Steelers was the only side that the public lost. I think the Steelers ended up a 51% public side. So, they had their week last week. It's not going to make me bet with my gut this week. I'm still going to look at the numbers. I'm still going to look at how the lines are moving and make the best play possible. And I think that's what you got to do. You got to block out what happened last week. You don't want to chase your losses, bet the same unit sizes that you were betting before. And, look at this slate of games separate from what happened last week. So that's what we plan to do.
Yeah. You said something, and I know, in poker, you probably see this from a lot of like super amateur poker players. They lose a big hand and they start trying to chase that hand again, and they become way too aggressive with their betting. And it's no different here. If you had a great week, hey, keep doing what you're doing. If you had a bad week, don't feel like you need to make it all back with one bet, because as we talked about last week, and you kind of alluded to it there, you might be making the odds on right play, but that doesn't mean it's going to hit. there aren't 100% plays, when you're gambling. And so you keep making the right play. You keep, betting a reasonable amount, whatever that means to you. Don't try and get it all back with one bet. That's when you get yourself in trouble. That's playing Russian roulette. You might get lucky a few times, but eventually that strategy is going to burn you. So here we
Yeah, we
are.
call it going on tilt. We call it going on tilt in poker, and
Yeah.
it's you get frustrated and start making irrational decisions because you're trying to chase your losses, or you get frustrated at a certain part of the game. And I'd be lying if I said I'd never go on tilt. I still battle with going on tilt sometimes when things aren't going your way, but it doesn't do you any good in the long run. So the less you can go on tilt and just take every situation and at this for this show, this game slate as its own separate thing, and look at it and make the best decisions possible. That's how you're going to make the most money.
So we're gonna take a look at these 4 NFL games. Maybe at the end we'll talk about the college game on Monday, the national championship game. How do you want to do? Do you still want to draft 3 picks, and we'll open it up to totals and maybe a prop as well, since there are only 4 games? Or you tell me.
That
you're
works
still,
for me.
Okay.
that works
You
for
still
me.
have control of the tee box. None of us got one right.
Yeah. So that's tie goes to the guy who was already on base, I guess.
I feel like you're going to take my pick here with your first selection.
Most likely. I mean, I'm sure we'll end up talking about it every game. 2 of my favorite picks are actually from the same game. The side and the over under in the same game. So I guess I'll start there, and I'm going back to the old faithful, my Super Bowl pick that I talk about on every show. And I said last week I didn't think they were going to play with their food, and they ended up definitely played with their food last week. But I love the Rams, and I'm actually seeing this number now at 3.5. My model has this game at more like a 6-point favorite, so I think you're getting some value here with the Rams. And again, I faded the Bears last week. We saw the miracle that happened and played out, but this is the Bears at their peak. I believe in recency bias. The Rams, not covering last week, and the Bears coming out the way they did. The public is going to be all over this Bears team. This is the first playoff win for the Bears in 5 coaches. It's been a long time since they won a playoff game. It feels like they won the Super Bowl in Chicago. People you talk to, they're building statues for Caleb Williams, the Iceman, in Chicago. And you got the Rams coming off a scare against a bad Panthers team. So you're getting this number at a value, in my opinion. And there's all these, when I hear the pundits talk this week, I think this game is going to feel like 1 degree outside or something like that. And there's a concern about Matt Stafford. He's a dome quarterback. How is he going to be in the cold? And the stats just don't back that
Support
up.
that.
Stafford, in his career, he has struggled in Lambeau, but in Chicago, 4-1 in his career as a favorite. In his career in temperature below 40 degrees, he's 5-3 against the spread. He has a QBR over 100 in those games. With weather at 40 degrees, there is some concern about his finger. And, what's that going to look like? He has an injured finger, in the cold. Is that going to be something he's battling in this game? But how many times can we see this Bears team pull this miracle off? And again, I'm not betting with my gut here. I'm betting based on the numbers and with, what I believe the value is, based on the number we're getting here with the Rams. And I don't think this Bears defense has the answers for Puka Nacua and that offense. If they want to run a shelf defense like I think they will, because they have no DBs who can slow down Puka, then the Rams are just going to run the ball down your throat. And we've seen it all year with those big jumbo boxes. That personnel, they can really run the ball. So this weather should not be a problem for the Rams. No TJ Edwards in this game for the Bears. That was a big loss on defense that somehow the Packers, I was really surprised they couldn't run the ball in the second half, because there's all these stats without TJ Edwards, they're giving up 2 more yards per play rushing the ball without TJ Edwards. So I like the Rams here. Again, public It's the feel-good story of this Bears team right now, and the public wants to cheer for them. I think we're getting a steal on the Rams at this number. So I was really scared that my Super Bowl pick was going to be gone somehow last week, and that would have really been a bloody week for me. But I'm going to keep riding it. I'm going to be on Rams money line. Stafford as a favorite in the playoffs, undefeated. He's one of the only quarterbacks with as many games as he's played to ever be undefeated in the playoffs. So Rams, baby, let's go.
Yeah, I like that. And I'm going to let you just piggyback that. I'm curious. I think we'll be on the same side with the total, but is that so? Would your second pick, if I didn't go that route, be total in that game? Because if it is, I'll let
Total.
you go
Yeah.
take it. Okay.
Yeah. I like the under. I like it because of the weather. I like it the way the line is moving. I think we opened at 51. We've already seen it drop. I bet it at 51 and a half, I think. And now it's already all the way at 48 and a half. And it's the weather factor. It's the recency bias. You just saw both these teams put up over 30 points. The Rams are coming off a 37-point output against the Cardinals, and then a 34, I believe, against Carolina. The Bears scored over 30 last week. I think the game script in this game is going to be a lot of Rams pounding the rock. And so I just think that big number, you've seen it when the Rams get leads. McVay likes to keep the ball on the ground. And with this, again, it's going to feel like 1 degree outside. It's going to be hard to grip the ball. It's, that makes it tougher for receivers to make big plays down the field. Stafford's finger, you have some concerns there about him throwing the ball, but I like the under just based on the way the line's moving and the public with the recency bias on these overs on these teams. The public's coming in on the over and the line's moving towards the under. So it's a sharp play. I'll probably play first half under as well in this game.
So what if I told you I kind of prefer the over? And maybe this is sharp versus
square.
I was gonna say dipshit, but however you want to characterize it. I'll tell you why. Here'd be my side. Now, I don't like it at 51, right? And you said you played it at 51. I wonder if it's gotten down to a number worth playing at 48 and a half. You mentioned no TJ Edwards, right? And I know running the ball usually lends to running clock and not being as high scoring, but I think that takes away any ability to try and make the Rams one-dimensional. I think they'll be able to run the ball at will. They're a big zone run team. The Bears don't stop the run well at all in zone running schemes, especially without TJ Edwards, like you mentioned. And then I look at what the Packers did to the Bears. And remember, that was cold and that was windy. And the Rams, to me, are better offensively than the Packers. Right? I don't think that's some bold declaration. I also look at what the Panthers did to the Rams, and I agree with you. I like the Rams side here in the game. Right, this is not me suggesting that the Bears are about to go and take another, but I also think the Bears can move the ball, and it's kind of a bet on Ben Johnson because I think the Rams are going to get their points, and I'm betting on Ben Johnson to do enough with the Bears. Even if it's backdooring this because, we've seen the way Caleb Williams has played in the second half compared to the first half. The Rams defensively, to me, have been very vulnerable. I think the Bears can score enough, and I just don't see how they consistently stop the Rams, with Puka and Devontae, with the tight end play. Like, I think one of the things that typically in the passing game in cold weather with wind, and I looked, and who knows how it'll change. I saw wind around 15 to 20 miles an hour, and that's not nothing. We're not talking about 30-plus gusts. But to be able to have a passing game at all levels, right, they have backs who can catch it, but they've got 2 tight ends who can make plays, and they've really started to use Terrence Ferguson more, along with Colby Parkinson. I say 2, 3, Tyler Higbee 2. And then You've got the 2 guys on the outside with Adams and Nakua. I think they're going to get, I'd be surprised if they didn't get to 28. Can the Bears get to 21? And I feel like they can, even if we're talking about a garbage time touchdown. So I'll go ahead and you've been the courageous one since we've done this. You have twice taken the other side after I've made the pick first. So I think it's time for me to grow a pair. I will take Chicago and Los Angeles over 48 and a half. And I'll be the dipshit who takes the bait on this one.
No, it makes some sense. I see where you're coming from. And we said it last week with the Panthers. What is the Rams' weakness? It's the passing game. The passing game at the beginning of the year was one of their strengths on defense, and now has become one of their weaknesses. My concern with the Bears is, one, the receiver group right now is banged up. I don't think DJ Moore or Jose is practicing so far this week. I'm not saying they're both not going to play, but not at practice. They lost their tackle in that game, got carted off in the Packers game. And the Packers defense without Micah could not really get much of a pass rush. And we think this Rams team with Jared Verse up front, can they get a pass rush on Caleb and make it more difficult for him in this game? And I will say I like the first half under more than the game under because of the Caleb Williams magic we've seen in the second half. He usually takes him a little bit of time to get going in these games, and the Bears find a way late to, make these games close and, make some big plays down the field. He's done it many times in the second half. So I like the first half under more than the game under. I can understand why. Yeah, I can understand why this is, with this weather, the weather can backfire on an under. There might be a couple fumbles in this game because it's hard to grip the ball. And then that favors the over if they're fumbling in their own territory. But I'm just looking at the line movement, and I know the public's going to be coming in on this over, and with the line moving the other way, and I'm gonna end up on this underside. Like I said, first half under, like it a little bit more than game.
So I'm surprised. I thought when you said you like a game and a total, I thought you were going to go in a different direction. I didn't think you were going right to Rams Bears. So technically, this would have been my first pick, but I guess I played Chicago and Los Angeles the over. So my second
I'm interested to know. Yeah, I'm interested to know if it's going to be this Niners Seahawks game. That's going to be it, or it's going to be this Patriots Texans game.
No, not that
Neither.
Wow. I am sticking. We talked at the beginning about staying true to whatever your process is, and I said on this show last week,
fuck the Bills.
No, I said if the Bills, I am going to bet against the Bills until I can't bet against the Bills because they are one-dimensional, and I don't believe that they are able to overcome all the shortcomings not named Josh Allen, because Josh Allen is Superman. And we saw Josh Allen, and we said this last week, hey, you could be on the right side, but Josh Allen could just decide, hey, Clark Kent, meet Superman. I'm going to put the team on my back because he is arguably, and I said this last week, he is arguably able to affect a game more than any individual player in the NFL. Just the difference, the delta between where that team would be without him. You talk about value and all that stuff. He's that guy because he's got nothing around him. And I'm going to stick with this process. And Denver started as a dog. I played Denver as a dog. They're now favored 1.5. I don't care what the number is. I'll play either. And to me, I'll be honest, this is one of my favorite bets since we started doing this show. Denver can get to the quarterback. Jacksonville did not get to Josh Allen well. Denver is going to be able to get to Josh Allen. They have a really good pass rush. And Josh Allen, as much as he can maneuver and dodge and dip and scramble, like he still will. I mean, any quarterback will, right? He still is susceptible to really struggling without a pass rush. But here's the deal. You got Sean Payton coaching with rest. I read something earlier this week that he's never lost in the playoffs when he's coaching with rest.
4-0. 4-0.
Is that what it is? Okay, yeah, 4-0. Buffalo's got nothing going for them offensively in the passing game. I think Dalton Kincaid's going to be playing hurt if he plays, but their best weapons are two not super explosive tight ends We're not talking about Jimmy Graham, Travis Kelsey level tight ends. We're talking about good tight ends. Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid. They got nothing on the outside, right? And if Khalil Shakir, is going to be any kind of a threat, then Patrick Surtain's going to shut his ass down. Because Patrick Surtain is arguably the best corner in the NFL. If it's not him, maybe it's Christian Gonzalez. I don't know. Maybe we'll be talking about him in a little bit. I don't love Denver. I don't think they're some juggernaut, but they're at home with rest. And I trust Sean Payton against a bad defense. Buffalo is not good defensively. This is not some, scary Buffalo Bills defense. And if they do get any pressure on Bo Nix, we've seen what Bo Nix can do. I'm not putting my franchise on Bo Nix by any means. We've talked about some of the younger quarterbacks, but Bo Nix has proven a lot. And you've got Buffalo with Josh Allen. Denver's the more public, or Buffalo's the more public side. I just think that, at least at this number, I just think that this is a tough matchup for Buffalo. I think it's really tough for them to go on the road to Denver, as shorthanded as they are, as banged up offensively as they are. To me, this Denver team is a really good team. And I don't know that they've got great quarterback play, but they definitely got good enough quarterback play. And I just don't know what Buffalo's edge is, other than the chance that Josh Allen becomes Superman again. And maybe you got the inexperience or the experience benefit for Josh Allen, but I kind of think that this is where a guy like Sean Payton helps balance that out for Bo Nix. I think that having Sean Payton, I think he's an arrogant D, but he is a great game caller. And I think that he will do what he needs to do to put Bo Nix in a position to succeed. So I like Denver. Got them as a dog, but I like them as a favorite as well.
Isn't it amazing? We might be talking about Bo Nix with Drake May or CJ Stroud in this conference championship game. It's a wonky playoffs. I swore to Jamie, shout out Jamie, my girlfriend, that I wasn't going to pick against the Bills as one of my three. So I'm happy you picked it, because I like Denver. I like Denver.
Is she a Bills fan?
Pick it as my number one. She has become a Josh Allen diehard. She's got the Josh Allen jersey. She wears it on game day. She was mad at me last week that I picked against. She said, see, I told, she had every public side last week, by the way. She literally told me every side. We went against the spread. I tell you, which do you like? She liked the other side before we did the show. And she's like, see, I told you, you bet against Josh Allen. She's like, it's going to happen again this week. You bet against Josh Allen. But man, he's down to 3 healthy receivers. He's got guys coming off the street that they were on the street 4 weeks ago. Brandon Cooks is his second best receiver now. I mean, Gabe Davis went down. He's out for the year now. Short week. He's got a leg injury. He's got a finger injury. He's like you said, Jacksonville, solid defense, cannot really get a pass rush like Denver can. And Josh Allen found a way to take what the defense gave him last week with those, 10 receptions for Shakir. They found a matchup that worked for them, a guy who, couldn't tackle in open field. That's not really going to happen with Denver. These short little receiver screens, I don't think, is something that's just going to get them up and down the field against Denver. And I don't know why Jacksonville kind of went away from the run in that game. I thought they were just pounding, could have ran the ball a lot more with Etienne and Tootin in that game. And they kind of went away from the run in the second half a little too much. And like you said, you gave out the stats on Sean Payton, never lost with rest, 4-0. He's going to have that 30-game play script at the beginning of the game, ready. He's had 16 days to prepare for this game. He's going to have exactly what they're running executed on offense. Those plays, first 30, 40 plays, have already been structured for a while now. And he's good off rest. You gave the stat about top seed dog. So they were a top seed dog to open. They're now a 1-point favorite. Just to give the stats about top seeds being a dog, has only happened 3 times ever in the playoffs. A team coming off a bye, number 1 seed off a bye, and the team that was not favored, so the 1 seed was covered every single time. So it's never not covered as a dog. So if it rolls back to Bills somehow, public comes on Bills, and you want to follow some trends, top seeds never not covered as a dog off a bye in the divisional round. So people will bet, again, similar to the Bears. They're going to bet with their gut, the QB they want to see make a run. I said it last week, and it worked for them.
Yeah.
And he pulled it off. They're going to do it again this week. The money's going to be pouring in on this Buffalo team, and we're getting just such value here. The Broncos at home, 8-1 in Mile High, a short week for an injured Josh Allen. Again, we got to keep seeing it. If he's going to keep doing it, like, you know, we gotta take the value again and take the Broncos side. So,
well, I'm glad I could help
agreement.
your relationship and take the bullet for you. Hey, you know, funny thing, quickly, you mentioned Jacksonville going away from the run. That was the one question that Liam Cohen was asked before that lady decided that she wanted to praise Liam Cohen. It was the press conference led off with going away from the run, and then Liam Cohen got that lady's praises.
I'm happy McAfee did a little bit on that. And I mean, what kind of world are we living in that people can't say something nice? And are you actually on the other side? Are you on the other side?
I'm not totally on the other side. I think it's funny that McAfee said that, and I like McAfee, but McAfee has guests on his show.
He talks a lot of shit too. Yeah.
Yeah. He has guests on his show who fall into that category, like people who.
Right.
So I
think that's fair. I think that's fair too. I don't think there's anything wrong with what she did. I don't know if she should be ridiculed for doing it. I guess if you're like, if this is what you do for a living, and you might have more of a, from my perspective as a fan, I'm like, oh, nice. You know, they haven't been in the playoffs and, you know, won a playoff game in 20 years. And they had their best record they've had in almost, you know, one of their best records in franchise history, and a new coach, and, you know, heading in the right direction. So, you know, for everything to be just like, you know, why'd you shit the bed in this game? You know, I don't have a problem with it, but I guess if this is what you do for a living, maybe you have a different take on it, that she's not taking it serious enough, or it's not a real question or whatever. But
it's a longer conversation. I would say this in general. The one thing I do agree, I do agree with Pat McAfee on this. There are too many people, and probably in any profession, who get so bogged down by the nitty-gritty of their job that perhaps they forget why they did it in the first place. Not everyone is fortunate enough to choose a career path that maybe was their top choice or a passion. And I would like to believe that a lot of sports writers, and I'm not a sports writer, but I do broadcast sports, that a lot of sports writers are doing this because it's what they want to do, not because it's what they got forced into doing. And I do think that there are a lot of times when those folks forget that this was something that they chose to do. And it's okay to have fun and to smile and to laugh. And I do agree with McAfee on that. So
yeah. And I will say,
I would tell you that if I offered those praises after the Rangers lost to a playoff game or a playoff series, I would get absolutely skewered because I was being soft and this and that and whatever, you know. So it's just, there's more to it. I don't hate it. I don't think she deserves to be ridiculed. I understand why there are people out there who feel like it puts them in a tough spot given their responsibilities.
I think that's fair. I mean, and we may have differing opinions on this, but because coaches get paid a ton of money, but this thing about shitting on the coaches when they lose, you know, in these big spots, even when they've been super successful, to me sometimes goes a little bit overboard. I mean, we're seeing it with LaFleur in Green Bay. I mean, we might have a different disagreement of whether he should still be the coach, but like, to me, it's like the kicker missed 4 kicks. They had fourth and 15, and Caleb makes the play of his life. It's like the players have to go make some plays, and it's like, is the grass always greener on the other side with these coaches? I don't think it is. I think when you have a really good coach, that's done a lot with the franchise. I mean, if it was me, I would love to have LaFleur. If it was I'm a Cowboys fan. It's like I'd take LaFleur in a heartbeat. But I mean, you know, you're a Green Bay fan and they lose to your rival twice in, you know, terrible ways, and he's been, you know, choked in the playoffs a few times. Maybe you have a different opinion. I just think like these coaches get shit on, you know, unless it's like some of
Yeah,
these
100%.
franchises, what do you expect? The expectations are, very high right now in the professional leagues. Anyways,
No,
let's
and
go
I do
to
think LaFleur should stay. So we're on
yeah.
the right side there. We're on the
All
same
right.
side there.
So you took the Broncos. Again, glad you took that one off my plate. So, man, I've been struggling a lot with this New England game. I've been going back and forth on it, and where I've ended up is taking the better defense with the points here, and it's a tough spot. I've been fading this New England team, and I thought Drake May struggled with the Chargers defense last week. This is a step up from the Chargers defense. This is number one defense in the league. 15 of 18 games, they haven't allowed 100 yards rushing total to the other team. So they're going to make the Patriots one-dimensional. And what Drake May was able to do against the Chargers was get key first downs with his legs. And I think the Texans are going to be prepared for that. The one thing holding me up from really making a bigger play on this is the Nico Collins news. If Nico's not playing, which now it's looking like doubtful, and Christian Gonzalez, who I initially thought wasn't going to play for the Patriots, who's their best cover guy, and people say locks down half the field. That swings things a little bit to the Patriots, but you're giving me 3.5. If you're giving me the hook here with that good of a defense in the playoffs, you've been talking about the Texans as a Super Bowl contender all year just because of the defense. I get it. CJ outdoors, no Nico Collins. I can understand why some of the sharps and public are coming on this Patriots team, but I think 3.5 is too much with how good this defense is. So that'll be my next play. I'm gonna take the points with the Texans.
Yeah, I told you. And are you seeing this at 3 or 3.5?
So I'm still getting 3.5. There are some
Okay,
books that have
perfect.
3 with juice on New England. So
Yeah,
seeing those two.
I uh, I put this out 3 or 4 or 5 weeks ago that I thought the Texans. I ranked the 5 teams I thought most likely to win the Super Bowl. Not necessarily the 5 best teams of that time, but the teams who I thought, given the conference, maybe what was left on their schedule, just the way their team was built, and the Texans were the 5th of those 5 teams. And it was because of how good their defense is and that their offense just needed to do enough. And it wasn't a great CJ Stroud game on Monday, but I don't think that I think it gets better from there. I don't think it gets worse from there for CJ Stroud. I think it was just a rough game. It was in Pittsburgh. There's a reason why Pittsburgh is so good in those spots. They didn't deliver on Monday night, but they certainly made it difficult until the Texans defense decided they were just going to score some points there in the second half. But
Right.
I'd be curious about Christian Gonzalez's health, in concussion protocol. But I think that even without Nico Collins, the way that and you saw this on Monday, but Jaden Higgins pretty good. He's not Nico Collins, but I like him. But ultimately, I agree with you. I just think that who has Drake May played, and what great or really good defenses has he conquered, and maybe this is a somewhat coming out party because it is a really good defense, and it's like, holy crap, he's going to play for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. But if you're getting the hook, especially 3.5 to me against this Texans defense, and I like D'Amico Ryans a lot, 2 really good coaches. I agree with you. I think this is a good play. All right. Well, then my final pick. I don't. We can talk Seahawks Niners. I think if I were to lean there, I would lean Seahawks. But I think my next play, I'm going to go Buffalo Denver under. I kind of detailed. I'm not going to go over all the reasons because I sort of detailed them already in the pick. I don't love Bo Nix. I think that Sean Payton will do enough, but I don't think they're going to score. Put up a big number by any means. I wouldn't be surprised to see the winner of this game top out at 20, maybe 21. I just don't know how Buffalo is able to put up a lot of points. I don't see Buffalo driving the score here. 24-21 final and the under hits, right? Whether it's at 46 or 45 and a half. I got it earlier at 46 and a half. But yeah, I think this is going to be a defensive game. I think that you're going to see Denver play to their defense, meaning I don't think you're going to see uber aggression, whereas like that Chicago Rams matchup, you got two super aggressive offensive coaches. I think that Sean Payton understands that that team's bread is buttered with their defense. And I think that they're going to force Buffalo to try and drive the ball 80 yards when they're in one of those kind of midfield 4th and 5 situations, whereas other teams might go for it, and that could lead to offense because you don't get it and you give up good field position, or offense because you continue the drive and get into a scoring position. I think you're going to see more punts in that regard. And maybe Buffalo, they might be more aggressive offensively because I don't know that they trust their defense, but I just don't think they've got enough juice offensively. So I like the under here. I would play it down to 45 and a half. And I just think this is going to be more of a defensive game.
I like it. I like it. And like we said about the Bills-Jags game, we thought the Jags should have run the ball more. And I think Sean Payton's going to want to keep the ball on the ground, keep this game managed, and, keep his offense on the field for a while, keep Josh Allen on the sideline. And that all points to the under. So I like it. Honestly, I'm probably going to blind bet all of the unders just based on the trends. And that's what I did last week. And I think I'm going to do it. The only one I'm actually worried about is the Houston-New England one. And that one, at face value should be the one you're like, oh, Houston has the best defense in the league. New England statistically has like a top 5 defense in the league. So you would say under, but the fact that that line is moving towards the over, it's just a little strange because they just both came off, games where Houston's defense looked like a juggernaut and then New England held the Chargers to 3. So you would think it'd be even lower. I was surprised to see it at that over 40 number. So that one actually a little just scares me just based on what the books are doing. But just based on the trends, 4-2 last week unders, I think following that trend again, late in the playoffs, cold weather, it's going to favor these unders, and the public's still going to want to bet these overs in these games, especially at Josh Allen game when he's on the field. They're going to be betting the overs. So
yeah,
I like it. Niners Seahawks, I've gone, I was going to make Niners one of my plays. And then I've had talked to a ton of sharps who love the Niners, and I was like very surprised. And then I saw the line move from 7.5 to 7 and moving towards the Niners. And so I was like, Purdy has owned Seattle 4-0 in that stadium in his career. It feels like a lot of points for a division opponent. You always have the back door open when you have 7.5. So if it's late in the game and they're down by 2 touchdowns, you get that late back door. You always have a chance. And I talked about last week the Trent Williams factor. He didn't play, got hurt in the last game against Seattle. He did play against the Eagles, and the offensive line held up a little bit more with Trent. So, I thought he might not play last week against the Eagles. One of the reasons I like the Eagles so much, and he actually ended up playing.
And Lane Johnson didn't play, which that was kind of a big swing.
But again, there's the 3 teams that just keep pulling the magic out of their ass, and it's the Bills, the Bears, and the Niners. And it's like, can these teams keep? I mean, how many injuries, how much decimation can this Niners team take? Now George Kittle is out. I mean, I don't know how much these teams can take and still, get there against the spread. Kyle Shanahan, 7-0 straight up, 6-1 against the spread as an underdog in wild card and divisional round. We saw it again last week. We bet the Eagles. He proved us wrong there again, but haven't played this game yet. Initially, I like the big number on the Niners, but we just saw this Seahawks team kick the shit out of this team, and that game ended up a 10-point game. That game, really could have been a 3-touchdown type victory for the Seahawks. So this one, I don't have a play yet. If I was going to play it right now, I would play the Niners. I just think it's a really big number for a division opponent in a playoff game, teams that are really familiar with each other. irregardless of all the injuries, this Niners team, especially the offense, just has been finding a way. So
Yeah, I could see both sides on this. I don't love. There's not a side that I necessarily love here, so I'm kind of with you. You could convince me Niners, you could convince me Seahawks, and uh, maybe it's a play that I make, Sunday, Saturday morning. That's a Saturday night game, but yeah, I don't feel strongly on one side or the other here.
yeah, and there's trends, I gave the trends, like all the trends that point to Kyle Shanahan. There's trends that point to Seattle too. I mean, we've talked about Darnold as a favorite, as a big favorite, 13-0 straight up in his career as a favorite of more than 6. I think he's something like 9 and 10-3 against the spread, either in 10-3 or 9-4. So, Darnold, when in these close spread games, when it's a little bit tighter, he tends to struggle in big spots. When he's a big favorite, he's performed well against the spread. So,
Yeah.
again, I'm going to probably bet the under in this one as well. Division opponent, Sam Darnold on the other side. They're going to run the ball, and then you got Seattle defense against a banged up Niners team with no George Kittle. So, another under that I'm gonna take.
Okay, I like it. Our 3 official plays: Zach's taking the Rams, laying 3.5. The under in Rams, Bears 48.5, and Texans getting 3.5. I'm going on the other side of that Rams Bears total. I'm going with the over. I'm taking Denver laying a point, and then I'm taking the under in the Buffalo Denver game at 46. So we might not go 6-0 this week because we are going head to head in one, but I feel pretty good that we're not going to have an 0-6 week. And
yeah, we can't go
0-6.
I guess if it
Yeah,
lands.
that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. Yeah, we can't go
That's why
0-6.
I took the other side. It guarantees us a win. It guarantees us getting one on the board. Hey, quickly, any thoughts on the national championship game, which will be on Monday? You got Miami as a pretty sizable dog, 8.5-point dog against dominant Indiana. What are you thinking in this one?
I know Nick. If you're listening out there, our loyal Indiana fan, I believe he's going to the game. I am finally fully on the hype train. I have joined the hype train. I took Indiana against Alabama. I thought we were getting value last week against Oregon. If you play that game out a few times, I don't think Dante Moore plays that bad and has those turnovers in the game, which I think really changed just how big of a blowout it was. I think Indiana maybe still covers most of the time, but I don't think it's that lopsided. But I think what Cignetti's done, just watching that game and watching the last couple of games, just the execution of this team is, it's just amazing what a well-oiled machine they seem like. And the discipline they have is something that Miami has not shown. You saw it with the penalties. I think they're a top 5 penalized team in college football. They had a bunch of really undisciplined plays against Ole Miss. And, I'm there on the hype train with Indiana. I kind of like the under, especially the first half under. I think these teams are going to feel each other out at the beginning with some unfamiliarity. And Indiana's been putting up these big numbers in the last, against Oregon, put up a big number. So I think there's going to be some sharp, if you want to take a sharp play, I think the first half under. What the question is going to be is Carson Beck, and can Carson Beck be more than a game manager in this game? We saw it against Ole Miss. He was mostly a game manager most of the game. And then at the end of the game, finally, when Ole Miss's offense started clicking, they asked Carson Beck to do a little bit more, and he was able to do it. He ran that touchdown in at the end. He got him down the field. But this is not the Ole Miss defense in this game. This is a much more highly rated defense. Indiana, number 1 rated offense statistically, and number 2, I think, defensively. So this team all year has just shown it, and I have to hop on the train. I don't think Miami has a big home field advantage, even though this game's in Miami. Of all the college campuses you could pick where you don't have a huge, home field advantage where it's going to should change the point spread that much, I think Miami's one of them. Like if this game was at the big house, you'd be like, oh, this is a big, factor in this game. But Indiana is it's a national championship game. They're gonna be showing out for this game. It's the biggest game in the history of the program. And again, you might say that this is the best coaching job, maybe, and this is going to sound crazy, in like the history of college athletics, from where Indiana has come from, the losingest program ever coming into Signetti, and now to be undefeated going in the national championship. They were losing to Purdue like 2 years ago in Maryland, like losing those games by lopsided. They saw someone put out, Akron took them to 4 overtimes 2 seasons ago. Like now they're in the national championship. So the job he's done, I'm not going to turn on another game and just have them blow somebody out and be on the other side. So I'm riding with it. So Nick, if you're listening, I'm finally I'm on the bandwagon. Let's go.
I agree. Yeah. Give me the what's it? Hoosiers. I'll take Indiana. I've played them their first 2 rounds. I'll play them again. Although I'm scared because their first 2 rounds, I initially said I like the other side and then flipped. So maybe I'm supposed to say I like Miami and then flip day of. But I just think Indiana's dominance is pretty ridiculous. I don't know the updated number. It's like 85 touchdowns scored, 16 allowed all year. I mean, it's like something absurd like that. And I just, yeah, I know that that's a big number for a national championship game, but I think
the argument for Miami is this is probably the best defense that Indiana's played all year.
Yep.
And they get a pass rush on Mendoza and make it difficult for him. But the way he's been playing and the balls he's been, I'm on the Mendoza number 1. I'm a Las Vegas Raiders fan just as much as, as we've talked about on this program now. They're my after my Tyler Shucks Saints, they're my team. So I'm pretty pumped for Mendoza in a Raiders jersey next year. I think he's the real deal, it looks like. So yeah, the argument for Miami is maybe this defense can slow that offense down just a little bit and make it harder on Mendoza. Can they get it to a close game, a 1-possession game late in this game and put Indiana in spots they haven't been in all season, in a close spot late where they have to, feel some pressure? Because if they get the ball rolling early and they go up by 2 touchdowns, it's game over for Miami.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. Seems like Indiana's a wagon, but looking forward to watching that on Monday night. I just don't know that Miami's going to be able to stop them. And maybe we get another fake Cavender twin text to Carson Beck, which I fell for. I thought that was real. I mean, she seems like maybe it's something that she would say. All right.
I can't see Carson Beck. I can't see Carson Beck raising the trophy. Can you? No.
I'd have to eat my words if he does.
Visualize it.
Yeah, I'd have to eat my words if he does. I'm not a believer. I don't.
Yeah.
Now, Malachi Toney, I can see him raising a trophy, but not with Carson Beck as his quarterback. All right, he's Zach. I'm Jared. Thanks so much for joining us for another episode of the Betting Booth. Hopefully a more profitable episode this week. Again, our picks one last time, and get them in now if you like these numbers before they change. Rams laying 3.5 for Zach. He's also going with the Bears. Rams under 48.5. Texans getting 3.5. I'm going Rams, Bears over 48.5. Broncos laying 1, and then Broncos, Bills under 46. All right. Happy football watching, Zach. We'll talk next week.